y'all, it's Heather, and I bought the new Natasha Denona ROXA palette. My order is here. I'm so excited. Let's jump into it. This is what she looks like, this beautiful purple palette. I think it's so pretty. I love this pinky purple color story. I love this kind of shifty type of shiny packaging. I'm excited. I know Natasha Denona has a new formula in here, so we're going to be doing eye swatches of every single shade. We're going to do live swatches on my hand. We're going to do a tutorial. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this palette. Everything. I love Natasha Denona. Anytime she releases something, I have to shop it. I just cannot help myself. I think she makes amazing stuff. I bought my palette from Sephora. It's also available on the Natasha Denona website right now. I'm pretty sure it will be launching at other retailers later, but you can use code Heather to get a discount on the Natasha Denona site. I am going to grab an eye primer. I'm going to zoom y'all in and we are going to get to swatching. To start out our live swatches, we're going to do these 6 shadows right here and then we'll put them on the eyes. Okay, here's our first shade in the palette. Look at how that catches the light, y'all. I love makeup. It never gets old. It makes me so happy. Let's swatch this matte shadow. I love Natasha Denona mattes because they are pigmented. They don't always swatch the best. I know that going into my swatches. They don't always swatch the best, but they are always pigmented and so easy to use on the eyes. We'll put this dark shade right there. I love that we have light and dark shades in this palette. Like, y'all, okay, you know, it's making me happy. Let's swatch the shade Stargirl. I really like that. I think that's going to be beautiful on the eyes. It has a really pretty shift to it. We'll do another matte shade called Sweet Pea. Why don't we do that one right there? Look, you can already see like a look just from those shades. And then we will do Concord. I love that. That's a good name for a purple palette. And we'll put that there. So pretty. Okay, I'm gonna grab my eyeshadow primer and zoom y'all in. This is the shade Concord. It's described as a sparkling foiled medium violet shade. You can see that that really applied beautifully with my finger. I like to do my finger for application for every shade, and I like to do a brush. That way, depending on the method you like to use, you can see how the shadow performs. But that's pretty. Like, I can see the sparkle in that for sure. That's pretty. I mean, this is a purple metallic-y foiled type shade. I see it. I can see the sparkle. It's the Natasha Denona quality that I expect so far. Isn't that pretty? I love purple shadows on my green eyes. I think that just like makes them pop, but I also think purple shadow is pretty on every single eye color. I want to swatch this matte shade that's kind of very purple, like this shade over here, just so we can see that comparison side by side. Jacaranda, I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, I really am. But this is described as a silky matte medium dark violet. My eyelids are a little dry right now, so I'm having some texture, but I think that may be kind of good for this video so that you can see if texture on your lids is a concern for you or something that, you know, you want shadows that kind of glide smoothly over that. I think that's happening. You can see I've got a little bit of that texture there, but look at how beautifully the shadow is just kind of gliding over. I know that this is a new formula for Natasha, these mattes. She said something about it being like for purples, she wanted to like do updated formulas, and I'm very sad that there's no cream to powder shadows in here because that's one of my favorite formulas that she does. But I'm always excited when she does something new. So far so good. I think that's really pretty. Like, you can see it's blending well. I just like to do these with the brush so that you can see the pigment and you can see if they can blend, if they can move, all of that. This is the shade Dixie. This feels very like thin and topper-like when I swatched it on my hand. So I'm looking forward to really seeing when it's all over the lid. But do you see what I mean? Like, it's more so about the sparkle and the iridescent quality to it. This is described as a crystal sparkling warm pink with blue and purple specks, and I would agree with that. This is going to be really pretty on the inner corner. It's going to be really pretty like topped over another matte. It's going to be very sheer. Like I said, very topper-like. Not a lot of base pigment to the shadow, which if you want a very quick and easy look, like you're doing very minimal makeup, taking a shade like this, go with the finger or a brush just all across your lid really quick. It's gonna be very ethereal and easy and effortless and beautiful. We've got another matte shade. This is the shade called Eclipse. And this one is very, very deep and dark. This is just described as a silky matte deep purple. I'm impressed with how pigmented that is. Like, look at how deep and dark that is on my lid. And then I'm not really having an issue blending either. Again, I'm not trying to do like perfect blending because we're just eye swatching, but the point is just to see, can you blend it? Is it able to blend? Or does it just stick down and not move? I was a little worried because I love Natasha Denona's matte formula. I think it's so good. And I thought maybe she was gonna be like fixing something that wasn't broken, you know? But so far, we've had 2 mattes on the eyes and they're looking really great, really pretty. And I'm very, very thankful that's the case. Let's swatch Stargirl because this is described as a duochrome and that makes me happy. I really love duochromes. I love any kind of shift. I love any kind of sparkle. And I just never get tired of makeup. Like, I have been going through it lately. I know a lot of y'all have. And makeup is just perfect for like letting me escape, having my me time, having some fun. I just, oh, that makes me so happy. This is a light shade, so it's not going to show up as intensely. I mean, you saw it in the hand swatch, but Natasha describes this as a sparkling foil duochrome pink with a bronze champagne shift. And I definitely see that pretty sparkle. We'll have to use these in eye looks in the future, but I really like that. I really like that. I'm not even going to bother with the brush because it just applied so well with my finger. This is the shade Sweet Pea. This is a matte shade. And I saw a few comments on some of my other eye swatch videos of people asking me to kind of switch up the eyeshadow base. Not necessarily the color, but just to make sure, like, if I'm using my holy grail favorite eyeshadow base, like maybe try some other ones while I do these eye swatches. So I will link the bases that I'm using in the description box. Sweet Pea is described as a silky matte that is a light, medium, warm lilac, and I agree with that. These feel, like the mattes feel dry to the touch, but they're not applying in a dry way. A lot of times with mattes that feel very dry, they can just kind of crumble on the lid. Maybe they're very thin and not very pigmented. But these, like, you see they're pigmented and smooth. It's making me happy. We've swatched our first 6 shades. Let's move over to these 6 right here. We do have this really fun shade. I want to kind of like swatch it back and forth like this so that you can kind of see how I'm going to pick it up on my hand. And we'll put that right there. That is so pretty. Now, if you want tiny brushes and you want to really like go in and get some of each of the shades, you could do that. I don't do that. I usually just kind of mix and then kind of blend like that so I can get the true color. So that was the shade Bolt. And this shade Flutter is one that really kind of attracted me to the palette. I mean, it's Natasha Denona. I'm going to buy her new stuff because I love her. But this one looks like such a beautiful topper shade with all this fine sparkle to it. So I'm very, very excited to use that one on my eyes. We will put this matte right here. Definitely feels like this newer formula that she's got in this palette. Very, very pretty. We'll put another one of our matte shadows right there. That kind of cool tone purple. There's a shade named after me, a shade named Heather. I'm gonna put right there. And then last but not least from this column, we will put the shade Brink. And I'll kind of put that right here. Oh, that's so pretty. I kind of like doing these lab swatches. Y'all seem to be liking them too. And why don't we just go ahead and lab swatch the last 3 shades too? Like, we're here, so why not? Let's do Regal. I'll put it here. That's pretty, right? Like, that's really, really smooth the way that's swatched. It's light, but I think that's beautiful. And then we've got 2 more matte shades. Maybe we'll put one here. That's very smooth. I would say that's like the smoothest feeling matte that I've tried so far. And last, we have the shade Orchid. Let me move my shirt down and we'll put it right here. That one feels really smooth too. Okay, these that are more pinky feel more smooth. Of course, it doesn't matter because this isn't usually how I apply my eyeshadows. I mean, it's fun to do, but I care about how they go on the eyes. Let's do that kind of mixy shade called Bolt. I'll go ahead and just put that on my lid like this. Very sparkly shade. I'm just gonna keep using my finger since it's applying so well. And Natasha Denona says this is a sparkling foiled graphic designed violet and silver. And I see that. I definitely see the purple and the silver in that shade. We'll do the matte shade Velour right over here. Yeah, that's a pretty color. I really like that kind of pinky purple. This shade is described as a silky matte medium lilac shade. Blends so beautifully with the brush. I'm impressed. Okay. Very, very pretty. This is the shade Flutter. It is a sparkling wet effect lilac pink. Very sparkly, very topper-esque. I really love the wet effect shadows from Natasha Denona because they do what they say they're gonna do. They are a wet effect. After that, I'm gonna apply the shade Heather, named after me. No, it's just the name Heather. It's not named after me, Heather Austin, but I can pretend. So please forgive me if I had to do a little voiceover because I forgot to turn my mic back on. This is the shade Heather. It is a silky matte medium dusty coral rose. And that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shade. This is our matte shade called Phoebe. Very, very light. This is described as a silky matte light lilac. And you can see it is light, very light. I could use this as an inner corner shade. I could use this as like a buffing and blending shade with some of the dark colors. I mean, it's light, but it's there. It's just really smooth and not very dark, but it does have pigment. Here's the shade Brink, pink sparkly color. Brink is described as a sparkling foiled pink, and it definitely is pretty, definitely sparkly. I like both of these colors. I'm trying to think of like what I want to use because we're almost done and I'm ready to create a look. This is the shade Regal. This feels like a very smooth shadow. That's really pretty. It's described as a metallic vintage rose, and I definitely agree with that. It's a light shade. It does look like kind of vintage to me. I'm into it. Now we have the matte shade called Crease, and I just realized I did not tap the crease out of my eyeshadow primer. That's okay. This is described as a silky matte medium dark muted fuchsia. That's a long name. That's pretty. It's blending well. No issues, no patchiness. All good so far. I like both of these shades. I'm going to take these off and then we will do our last matte shade. This is the shade Orchid, and oh my goodness, that's pigmented. That is pretty. Okay, I'm into it. Orchid is described as a silky matte medium purple. Definitely a pinky purple. Definitely more on the pinky side, but very beautiful. Now that we're done with the eye swatches, I want to jump in and show you some comparisons and options. Here is ROXA compared to the Love palette. The Love palette is definitely more pinky red, even though we do have some purples, whereas ROXA is totally purple pink. I also wanted to show you the new palette next to the retro palette. This one is definitely more pinks, mauves, neutral leaning for sure. Here it is next to Smoke Sessions 2 from Melt. This one is definitely more purple blue leaning, so even though it is purple, it's very different. If you're looking at a palette from a small woman-owned indie brand, this is BellaBeauteBar collab with Deandra Nicole. This is the Ultra Violet palette. Definitely different, but both very purple and beautiful. The Gothic palette from Cosmic Beauty is also a really great option. It's at a much lower price point. All of these will be linked down below for you in case you're curious about any of them. I wanted to create a look that really like captured the essence of this palette. I wanted to do something very pinky, very purple, and really kind of pull in both of those with the look that I did. I wanted to use some of these shimmer shades. I wanted to use the mattes, especially since it's a new matte formula. I know I got a feel for everything kind of when I was like eye swatching. I feel like that's such a good way for me to test out every single shade and know what I'm thinking about the formula. But I also really like to do a look and just see how all the shades kind of work together. And I'm like really just feeling the way these shadows are working. I love Natasha Denona. I have been a fan of the brand for so many years, and I love when she does these midi palettes because they give like such great formulas, such a great size. You still get 15 shades, so you get to try a lot of her formulas, and you don't have to spend like her over $100 price point that she can have sometimes. So I'm really happy to see this come out in a midi size. I hate to see that it is limited edition, but hopefully it will stick around for a little bit. So everybody who wants to try it can try it. And of course, I do love my finished look. I just really like the way it came together. I can see myself using this palette a lot. I really love the Love palette. Like I use that palette so much. It's been on so many vacations with me. I think purple eyeshadow is just beautiful on literally every single skin tone, every single person. So if you are questioning if you can wear purple, yes, you can wear whatever you want. It is your face. You make the rules. As long as you're having fun with your makeup, that is what's important, y'all. I really like this look. I would love to know, are you interested in this palette? Are you planning to pick it up? Are you planning to shop your stash? I would love to hear what you think about it. I love talking about new makeup with y'all. I know there's so many new releases coming. I have so many videos coming, but I would love to hear if there's something new that's coming out, you want me to review it, please leave it down in the comments because I always love to hear from y'all.